Now that some time has passed, I want to actually tell you my honest and true thoughts about Zeqa Season 10. While I do that, I'm going to be grinding. Yeah, I'm going to be grinding. I've been grinding a lot recently, and I think it's probably one of the best things about the update, you know. Back before Season 9, there was no real reason to play Zeqa except to fight your friends, but now there is like a reason to grind, which is the leveling system, which I think is really, really good, and I honestly like a lot. So I'm gonna split this video up into basically positives and negatives, and I'll put like timestamps and whatnot. But yeah, no, the first thing that I wanted to talk about is the leveling system. Like, the leveling system on Zeqa is very good, and I think it's a very well needed thing. You know, this is a very, very big thing, which is obviously very good for, you know, just playing and retention and whatnot, and I honestly really like it. It's something that I think that Zeqa needed, and it's good that they did listen to the community and, you know, add a leveling up system. Like, you know, I am like going for max level 100, and it is a grind. It definitely is a grind, but it is very, very fun. Next, I genuinely love the new aesthetics. You know, the new maps are beautiful. You know, props Bounty. I mean, like, you know, the UI, the new like holograms, and you know, the stuff that is made in the hub. So if I leave here, if I go to the hub is generally beautiful. The new icons, the new UI is just much simpler. I mean, everything here, you know, looks really nice. A lot more like a featured server, I'd say. You know, I really like how they didn't have like that disgusting scoreboard anymore. I like the new like thing on the top, and you know, everything just looks way cleaner in my opinion. I also like how they revamped a lot of the things, such as the friends menu, you know, the party menu, profiles, you know, like a lot of the stuff that they did add is very nice. I also really like the new cosmetics that they made. You know, these cosmetics are really nice, and of course, honestly, although I'm not too big of a like fan of the new like changes to the ranks, it's not that big of a deal, and I think that the like aesthetic does kind of fit in, even though I think the old one looks a bit better. But yeah, no, I really do like how a lot of the stuff has been revamped. One other thing that I really like is how they have revamped and added a load of different like new gen game modes. And the reason why I like it is because they get views, right? The modern gamers just get more views in general, and they just do better on YouTube, so I like it a lot more. I'm also going to talk about Skywars, because I feel like the Skywars maps in specific have just become way better. You know, the Skywars maps in specific just have become so much larger, and they just look so good, and I really, really like them. So I'm going to be playing a game of Skywars, you know, just to, you know, subtly drag the video on, but let me go find this guy. Oh, I found him! Woo! And now I just have to get them, and you know, it should be quite easy, but I mean, they're much bigger than the ones beforehand. I definitely think that it fits this game a lot more. I think because I guess this Skywars is a lot more like raw PvP based, it having a larger map definitely does make a bit more sense, like game development wise, and I mean, in general, it just does look a lot better. So I mean, it's not like a negative, definitely. And that guy just got cooked. As you can see, I definitely like it, and I've been playing a lot of like ranked and unranked skulls. I don't know if you've like seen at all. And of course, the battle pass is absolutely amazing. You know, like, these are all really, really cool, and I'm glad that there's like a free one and a paid one. So people who are like, you know, actually just grinding without wanting to pay can do that. And of course, training is pretty cool. Now here, I'm actually going to go on to the cons now, and the first one is, I think, a very big one that I've actually like joked about a lot to like rage bait people, but the big thing is that, you know, they are changing a lot of the ranks, and they're changing them to monthly payments rather than like, you know, permanent ones. And honestly, while Elite is a bit cheaper, I do think it's quite unfortunate, because obviously there are people who don't have the money to, you know, afford that kind of stuff. Now, before anyone actually says, yes, I do know that anyone who actually has a rank right now keeps it permanently, but I mean, you know, I do think that's like, you know, if they were to then make it like, you know, a subscription, that would be super scummy. But I do kind of understand where they are coming from. You know, they do need to make Zeqa a profitable server. Because as it is right now, Zeqa just isn't making enough money to sustain the amount it is, like, you know, making. I'm gonna kind of go on a tangent, right? But basically, all of the servers that properly monetize, like unscummily monetize their servers, aren't able to pay their employees like a decent wage, right? It's kind of like just how it is, right? If you can either like be very, very like, you know, have loads of like microtransactions and whatnot, but also be able to pay your staff and your like developers a good wage. Or you can do the opposite, where you have less of them microtransactions, but you're not able to pay your staff as well. And I think it's a struggle between which one is more ethical and which one isn't. In my opinion, I think it's more ethical to pay the people properly, because you guys don't need to buy anything if you really don't want to. But I mean, like, it's just unfortunate that it's like the case, and I think it's definitely something that isn't necessarily anyone else's fault, but maybe is Microsoft's fault for taking a large cut of the money. The next thing I don't really like, honestly, is I think at the start of like the server when it was up, it was quite laggy, and it was a bit glitchy, and I think that it has gotten a lot better, but there are some like small like actual like specific things, such as like the anti-cheat, that kind of still like lingers on and makes it a bit uncomfortable to use. Like like you've already seen in the gameplay that I've had like over there, right? I kind of like floated a little bit, I kind of gravitated towards a cobweb and then out of it, and that's because of the anti-cheat, So although the anti-cheat has gotten better, it is still a bit too strong, and it's something that they do need to like change and look into, because honestly, as it is right now, I don't think the anti-cheat is good, because it kind of like disrupts how it is when you actually play. I think the next thing I'm going to talk about is the KB. The knockback, the knockbacks change quite a lot, and I think that it does need a little bit of tweaking, just so it feels like more floaty. Right now I will say that the knockback definitely feels as if it's like, it kind of like you're kind of sinking, like because like you're fat, it's quite hard to actually get combos, and overall it just has a different feel to like a Zeqa beforehand, which who knows, maybe they did want to actually change it, but I'm not too much of a big fan of it. But I think that is something that can be easily tweaked, and with enough like criticism, I guess you could say, like, it will get better. I definitely think that they could have done a little bit more with like tier testing and whatnot, like at the end of the day, unfortunately this update was more of like a cosmetic update. It was more of like a cosmetic update. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, they changed a load of the maps, they changed a load of like the visuals, but other than that, they didn't do too much. And in all fairness, I understand why. You can't do much with a practice server. But, I did feel like a lot of the hype came from it being featured, and it didn't get featured. So it's like, it is a bit like underwhelming, you could say, right? But I do think that it's a good step in the future, and I think it being featured, once it is featured, it will definitely like shine a lot more than it is right now. So I am like choosing once again to be patient and wait, because honestly, I know that the people who are working on Zeqa are some of the most hardworking people, and to say that they aren't, and to bother them about the stuff is a bit bad in my opinion. But once again, these are generally just my opinions. I mean, you guys can like it, you guys might not like it, who knows. I mean, honestly, I think that they did a really good job for what they had, and I think a lot of the issues just are issues that will be solved over time. I mean, one last issue, but this is really nitpicky, is maybe just like specific small stuff within kits just to make it like better. Like, I know there's some stuff with like TNT car which I would have wanted to change, but honestly, that is just me being nitpicky. Maybe people like it, maybe people don't, who knows. Anything, things will get better. As time goes on, things will always get better. Like, these developers are working very hard, and even though these are my opinions, it's not because I don't like Zeqa, right? It's because I really want to see it succeed. I want to see Zeqa succeed and be like one of the big servers. I wanted to defeat Keepcraft and Hive, and shine as a really great server, and I definitely think that it's like needed to have like this like criticism. I also think that I want you guys to know that even though I have been like per se glazing Zeqa quite a bit, I do have my own thoughts on it, and I think it's like important to realize that the reason why I do try to be positive is because I know how it is when you're making a server. I know how like difficult it is, and how like background stuff can be, So yeah, those are my thoughts on Zeqa, and I think that the best thing you guys can do is just keep on playing it, keep on supporting the server, and just keep on helping them out, and the more you help them out, the more they'll do better, and the more they'll actually learn and improve. Because obviously it is a learning experience. I do hope they actually do add tiers soon. That's something that I low-key want to have. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. Yeah, no, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all later. Bye bye.